right. David, I don't think you guys have a Bitcoiner inside the media room for the Dolphins, right? I don't think so, right?
What are we investing in it? Are you asking me or?
Yeah. I don't think so. From all the guys I've had on, none of them have invested in Bitcoin, but I haven't had all of them on. Like, I don't know, Beasley. I don't know if he's or I'm not sure. I haven't asked him, and I haven't had I've had Hal on, but not that he and I are going to be talking about crypto. So I'm wondering, because I've never heard none of you guys have ever asked me anything about it, so I can tell you're not crypto guys.
No. I mean, I fooled around with a little bit like Ethereum. Bought low, sold high. I was in on that Dogecoin when it sprang up, and then got to selling a little bit. It would dip, and then bought a little bit on the dip. Things like that. So
You don't have any now?
let me see. I might have some Ethereum Classic, maybe.
Oh God, no!
Yeah.
Really? You bought Ethereum Classic? Yeah, I can tell you really didn't talk to me. Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just
I would have not allowed you to buy Ethereum Classic. That's what I would have.
Why is that? What am I doing wrong?
Oh, you got to get Ethereum, not Ethereum Classic, my man.
Ethereum. Well, I did have that too.
Ethereum Classic is Ethereum when the chain broke. They had to then start a new chain, and it became Ethereum, and then the old chain became Ethereum Classic, and then the people picked up the old chain, and then they kind of tweaked whatever was left, and they have they have businesses going on it, but it's not like Ethereum. Ethereum's the big dog. It just crossed 2,000 now.
Yeah, and it's very little what I had in Ethereum Classic compared to Ethereum, which
good.
Which was a little hefty sum when I picked it up and then sold it at one of its peaks, and then I'll have to check the transaction history to see where it's now, but I did pretty well on it.
Right. I just wish you guys would have stuck with it, bro, and bought all the way down. But it's hard. It's hard. It's not it takes a lot of guts to do what some of us have done the last couple of years, continuing to buy in the middle of a bear market when all it does is go down and down and down. And you're like, well, wait a minute, bro, what's going on here? I'm just losing money. You're really not losing, because until you sell, you don't lose. Until you sell, you don't win either, by the way. You know what I mean? So you really don't lose until, the end. But
you're only losing.
I've never heard, every time I've been to Dolphins camp, and everybody knows I'm a crypto guy, I've never heard anybody strike up any kind of crypto conversation with me. So I don't think any of the guys there. So none of you, by the way, you all have poor foresight, by the way. Just want you guys to know that. Okay. Just financially, you guys have poor foresight there. You could have set yourselves up there. But
hey, I'm in that positive. When I started getting into investing in the pandemic, I have an investment banker friend in New York, and I just started asking him random bullshit, and got into some stocks and a few other ETFs, and then eventually dipped into a little bit of crypto. Not that I even have that much money to play with anyway, but hey, overall, I'm up. I'm up in the long run.
Okay, all right, there you go. All right, my suggestion: never stop buying Bitcoin. That's my suggestion. Even right now, before it completely explodes. Okay?
Where's it at right now? Because I haven't checked.
It hit 37 today. It went right back down to 36.34. So right now we're headed to 40 plus, bro. I'm telling you, we're headed.
Okay, and I remember it being like half of that at some point, right?
Yeah, it was at 16.5 in January 1st.
Yeah.
So it is up about 130%.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fun. All right, so let's get to it, bro. Injury wise, it looks like they're going to get a Chan back, and they're going to get Robert Hunt back, right? For the Raiders game. You would gamble on that one, right?
I would think so. Hunt, I mean, he missed that whole week of practice leading up to the Chiefs game, so I guess you still have to see him come back and see how he deals with the hamstring, make sure he's all right. But I think Achan, it's been trending that way the whole time. That I think very early on in his IR stint, it was identified it wouldn't take long that he'd maybe just be a candidate for the 4-week minimum, actually similar to how Teron Armstead just was. So that's a good sign, and he gets the bye anyway, so it's sort of an extra week regardless. So he really gets 5 weeks for the price of 4 there for Achane.
What does Mike McDaniel need to work on personally for him as a coach? If you had to critique, what would it be?
Yeah, let's see. Well, we've still seen some of the game management things come up here and there. I mean, that was a huge deal in the Buffalo playoff game. So I think correcting some of those, maybe not getting so there's a better word, but what I want to say is cute with the play calling sometimes when sometimes just a simple play call will do. So the thing about him is that he is this innovative, creative, genius offensive whiz. So that's sort of the gamble that you have with him, is that there is a lot to gain from him trying innovative things offensively with his play calling. And when it works, it's splendid. But then sometimes you just want that simple play call, that 3rd and 1, just run it up the middle to pick up that yard play call that sometimes you don't see, because he does get a little cute mixing things up in the play call.
Like Kansas City, when you're gouging them at the end with Mostert, and then you go away from it, which there was no reason to go away with it with the timeouts and the time you had. You should have kept until they stop it. Sometimes, you know what? You just got to kiss it, like they say. Keep it simple, stupid. No, you don't have to put too much thought in it. After those back-to-back runs, brother, do it again and see if they stop. And if they don't, oh my God, the next run might have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We talked about it when I was in Frankfurt after that game, that that was a perfect situation to just keep pounding them. It worked 2 times, a 25-yard gain, a 19-yard gain. You're already in field goal territory, needing a touchdown, obviously, but just to emphasize that you're driving. And then you switch it up, go to the pass, incomplete. Now you're in 3rd and 10. Now you have to pass, and then you actually have a touchdown there, but then you have a miscommunication where now you're up against it. This miscommunication ends up leading to that you're in on 4th down, and then 4th down you have a miscue between Connor Williams, Tua Tagovailoa. We've had these snap miscues before, so it's just you put yourself up against the ropes when you could have had a 2nd and manageable, 3rd and manageable, and then have different play calls available to you. So that would have been a situation where that would have been ideal, certainly.
All right. What do we know about Craycraft?
Craycraft, he has now had 2 solid weeks of practice since being designated to return. So now once they come back from the bye, he'd be right up there on that 21-day window. So I would imagine that would just be that Tuesday announcement. So if I've got my calendar correct in my mind, that would just be the Tuesday where he just gets activated. So then a move would just have to be made to create that spot. But I mean, I think he's on track from everything we've heard, and it would be right up against the window anyway. So it'd be time to bring him aboard.
I think having Craycraft there, it's not so much that the obvious. He knows the offense. He knows everything to do. He's a great blocking wide receiver, so he'll help the run game. But I think also having Craycraft there will show Berrios, will show Cedric Wilson, will show Claypool too, what to do in this system and how to handle all this stuff. And so you have a good guy to be a teacher for some of these guys that, clearly are still learning the system, because we saw Cedric make a bad decision against the Chiefs, and it cost him. And then obviously Claypool he's had trouble just getting on the field, and he's been here already several weeks. They can't even figure out a way to give him a couple plays, a package to get him out there.
Yeah. I think Claypool will continue to just slowly ramp up, although now Craycraft getting back in the mix may complicate things for him as well. This was always a question, is that wide receiver 3 in that receiving core, just a lot of competition for it, different situations where different guys can do certain things well, and who would be in on certain packages. So Craycraft solidifies that spot a little bit. A guy that's familiar with the offense, a guy who blocks well at the receiver position, which is a prerequisite in this Mike McDaniel offense. So that's one way that he is going to be getting his playing time on the field. And that's one way for a guy like Claypool that he could earn more playing time is he has had some flashes of some strong blocking when a play is going to his side in his limited snaps. So if he can show more of that, that's how he can get more offensive snaps.
All right. Furones, when you look at the bye week for this week for them, and then obviously, do you expect any kind of changes that they could be working on in the second half? Since this is the time where you might tweak something, what could be tweaked?
I don't think too much needs to be tweaked. You have looking at both sides of the ball. Let's start with the offense. I mean, you have your guys say you're going to get Devon Achane back, so that's already just a huge boost in itself. Now, if he was still going to be out a few more weeks, I would have said one thing is I don't want to see Savon Ahmed out snapping Jeff Wilson as the number 2 running back. So you have Raheem Mostert who will get the lion's share before Achane comes back. Now maybe it'll be sort of a split, and I'd like to see that, but. Before then, that's one change I would have liked to see made. Really, it's looking at that left guard spot. Isaiah Wynn still has several weeks left, and now Robert Jones. Well, and if he comes back, we don't even know that. Robert Jones now he's got
the Isaiah Wynn one doesn't look good, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Robert Jones now, he came down with his injury, but assuming Robert Hunt is back in the mix, then that could just simplify it where it's Lester Cotton's spot right back there, especially now that you do have Connor Williams back and Teron Armstead back. So those are sort of changes in their own way of just getting guys back. Look at the defensive side. Well, now you have Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard together for the first time. So you just had that. I think it's just building off of that because everywhere else now you have that Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, edge rushing combination working. You know what you're going to get out of Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer. And then, if you can get something from Raekwon Davis, and then the Jerome Bakers and David Long has been coming along in this in the inside linebacker core under Vic Fangio. So sort of just having it come together. Now you're going to have Kader Kohu, who has been starting and even in one game was the number 1 corner against Philadelphia. Now he is slotted in as your slot corner in the nickel package, which is just tremendous when you have Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, and Kader Kohu just strictly as the slot corner. So I think it's just building continuity now that you have some of these guys back from injury.
By the way, you can follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, I thought last year, obviously once you get Fangio, for sure you part ways with Boyer. But I wasn't one of those guys, you got to fire Boyer, all that. I didn't really blame Boyer that much because I thought his thing was decimated. And overall, with all the injuries, I actually thought he did all right. And his defense kept his team in every single game pretty much. So I thought he did all right. The guy that I thought you should have fired right when the season ended was Danny Crossman. And I know a lot of you guys have given your mid-season grades. That was a thing for a lot of writers, here, the mid-season grade. What is the mid-season grade for Danny Crossman? And where did you stand with Danny Crossman last year? And where do you stand with him now? Has there been any improvement? Should they keep him right now if he continues at the pace that he's presented so far in the first half of the year?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's a great Danny Crossman first half. Maybe I give him slightly above average, so in the B- C+ range, so not a C per se. But yeah, I think the special teams unit improved in its own right. Just you get a return guy like Braxton Berrios in there, who he's going to be solid there. He hasn't broken off a big run, maybe here and there, but just getting you that 10 to 15-yard punt return. If he does decide to send out a kick return, making sure you're on the plus side of what you would have had if you just take a touchback. He's just smart in that regard. Secure, fair catcher of the ball, which we saw plenty of when he was the University of Miami return man. Bringing in Jake Bailey, he's been up and down. He would have some shanked punts here and there, but recently he had a couple inside the 20, one to the 3, one to the 9 against the Chiefs. So that was good to see. He had a lot of action in that game, and a lot of other games he hasn't had that much action. So it's kind of been you either see a lot from him in that game or you just don't see much at all from your punter. Jason Sanders, he's made his recent kicks. I know he had the early season struggles. Still haven't seen him from 50 plus, so that's one thing that still needs to be crossed off. Danny Crossman has voiced confidence in him, so ultimately he's going to be judged by what Jason Sanders does because that's his guy too. So. Blake Ferguson has been solid as a long snapper. The coverage units, one will squirt through, but overall, been okay, a lot of them. So, yeah, I would just say compared to last year, which I think last year there were a lot of blunders. I think it's cut down a little bit. So I would offer him a grade that shows some improvement since last season.
I'm canning his ass at the end of the year if I had.
Well,
All right,
if you go by he should have been gone last year, then yeah, you
I'm,
can.
I'm not. I am not impressed still by him.
Yeah,
I'm just not. It's just not a good unit.
right.
And maybe I've been spoiled with good units for decades now with different guys that have been pretty good coaches. I have just not been impressed enough with Danny Crossman. All right, so I know you're
Yeah, I
headed
was
to
there. I was there he should go. Thinking he should go. Same as Josh Boy. I was kind of in the same boat. I know you weren't there on board with the way it was going, but I felt the two were hand in hand in that regard. And but Crossman kept his job, and I mean I would grade him a little higher so far this year than overall last year. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, most people were like you. They wanted to get rid of Josh. That's for sure. All right, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. I know, David, you're headed to a wedding, so you're not going to be writing any articles about the wedding. But are you working on anything here, you slacker, over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I'll come up with something that I got to send in tomorrow, even though I'm already going to be off. So once I log off with you and before we have our groomsmen rehearsal dinner with the whole group, then I'm going to come up with something. So check the sunsentinel.com tomorrow. I will have something up that'll go up tomorrow. I'll send it in some point tonight. And then, but I still have to figure out what that is because I've had a bunch of errands to run ahead of this, getting ready, grabbing a tux earlier today or a suit at Mr. Tux. So nice little rental that we're going in matching attire for the groomsmen. So yeah, it'll be a weekend cruise. So my mind has been on that. I'm glad you haven't hit me with any wild opinions or hot takes that I've had to.
There aren't really a lot of hot button topics right now going on
Yeah,
with the Dolphins at all. It's kind of pretty, it's almost kind of like we know what the deal is, bro. Start beating the better teams, and McDaniel sharpen your shit up on game day, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And they're getting healthy, and that's fantastic. So, but they don't have issues. One thing that Chris Greer talked about a couple of years ago when he took over, and he said no more dysfunction. He once he got rid of Flo, the dysfunction's gone, absolutely gone. And that's another thing that we don't have to deal with covering the Dolphins or fans out there, because we always would have to deal with some level of dysfunction. So there really aren't any real bad stories, and there isn't any dysfunction going on. It's a different Dolphins team, bro.
yeah.
Different Dolphins.
These players that they buy into Mike McDaniel, they like being coached by him. I think they want to do right by him, prove him right that his style can work, so that it's not something where okay, well, we saw Mike McDaniel style didn't produce the results. Now we have to move back to some sort of disciplinarian approach. No, I think the players want to prove him right that his style is effective, and so they make sure to do everything they can and help hold themselves accountable.
By the way, if you want a story, one of the things I talked about last week, and that I think I talked about it maybe on Monday, or no, I think it might have been on Friday. The impressive part about the way Chris Greer designed this roster, and I'm sure Marvin Allen and McKenzie, all these guys had a deal in it, but there's a lot of leadership. There's a ton of leadership all over the team. You added Jalen Ramsey, to go with guys like Teron Armstead, and Tua is a leader himself. And, you start looking around and start looking at all the, Javon Holland, young and all, that guy's just loaded with leadership qualities to him. You know what I mean? And so you start looking at a lot of the characters in that locker room, and there's a lot of maturity, a lot of professionalism in there. You know what I mean? And I think that that's pretty cool. Even a guy like Craycraft is a pro. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually a pretty cool thing. It's a nice foundation of this team, the amount of leadership that they have.
Yeah, when they come out with their captains, every single one of them is like, yeah, he should be on there. He should be on there. He should be on there. And then you even have some left over because
That's what I'm
you just
saying.
did it to so many spots. There's only that many. So a lot of
Jalen
guys.
Jalen Phillips carries himself like a young leader, bro.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
he sets a great example. His effort is second to none. You know what I'm saying? And Chubb handled the heat early on. He wasn't performing well, but he didn't fold or anything. He stayed, stout throughout the whole thing. I just think that that's pretty cool. That when you start looking at Rob Hunt, man, you know what I mean? In his own way, is a leader too. The way he plays and carries himself. So there's a lot of that on this team that I think it's really really cool.
That
And
stuff
maybe,
is contagious.
yeah,
Yeah, because if you
exactly.
see the top players perform and uh, behave in a leadership style, in a leadership role, then, like for example, when players see Tyreek Hill is there rushing to support Tua to the utmost, if Tyreek Hill can do that, then anyone else speaking, they're going to say, "Who am I to disregard to or discount him?" And then, so I'm going to express my confidence in him as well. So that sort of just trickles down throughout the roster.
Yeah, and Tyreek's also practicing hard all the freaking time. So that's also setting an example. I'm just saying there's a lot of good character on this team. There really isn't a lot of like idiots. They
Yeah,
don't take a lot of chances on morons. Every once in a while they'll take a chance on a guy that's had some issues, but they're outliers. It's not like the rosters, it's not like you're walking into the Cowboys where they may have 3 or 4 other of those knuckleheads walking around and they're trying to, be a building of psychologists and coaches at the same time. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of leadership in that team.
Right. And it creates such a strong foundation where I know a lot of fans were worried when Robbie Chosen gets brought on. Oh, is he going to be a bad apple? An Eli apple, since I just said that word, Chase Claypool. And then, no, there's just such a strong foundation here that whoever you
The
bring
running
from
back for UM,
yeah.
the running back for UM that got in trouble with the law, and the poor kid has Walton. The kid
Yeah,
has,
Mark Walton.
yeah, the poor kid has
He was
that kid has some issues. Unfortunately, bro, he
yeah.
needed some help, and again, it didn't affect that roster because they've got a really good foundation in there. They bring character people, man. I give them a lot of credit in that sense. All
That
right,
one's been a few years now. That one, Mark Walton has been a few years now.
yeah. Yeah, it's been a couple of, but it doesn't matter. Those things have not affected the locker room overall because he's brought, one of the things I tell people when Flo got fired and when I was talking about him getting fired during the winning streak, the problem was there were too many people, fans, and even some media members. They were so hooked on the winning streak that they forgot about the losing streak that started the season. And so the front office, from the way I viewed it, the front office looked at Flo and said, "We gave you more than enough talent to get to the playoffs, and you failed, bro. You're out of here. You don't work with us, and you can't even maximize this roster. Get the hell out of here. You can't even build a staff." And right now with McDaniel, that's why I kind of talked about it earlier in the week. He's underachieving a little bit right now because he has the kind of roster that could have beaten the Chiefs, that could have beaten the Eagles, that should have been better prepared for the Bills, and he's the guy that has to be better prepared for some of those situations. And so it's in a way, it's kind of the same situation of Flo right now. The front office gave you more than enough to win. Now you need to put it together and get it done. And that's kind of where, McDaniel is at right now. He's reached a point, but he needs to take them over that next hurdle. And he has the talent to do it. And that's kind of what happened with Flo that last year. Those people in the front office, they knew they had more talent than to win the games that they were going to win that year. They needed to win more. And that's why they knew they didn't have the right guy and they had to get rid of him.
Absolutely. And it leaves me kind of actually encouraged that there is still something to strive for beyond what's established right now. It is known, they know it, that they still have another level that they need to reach, and that they are getting slapped in the face so hard with this narrative that they haven't beaten these strong teams, these other contenders, because now, okay, there's something left for you to do. It's not like you won 70-20 against the Broncos and you could just say we got it all figured out. Like, no, you have to show that you can do not something to that level, but just win consistently against other contenders, and also take the show on the road too, because it's been road games when the team has not, specifically the offense, has not traveled.
Got it. All right, my brother. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, enjoy the wedding, my brother. Enjoy the weekend. We will catch up next week, my friend.
I will come back refreshed off a weekend cruise.
There you go. Enjoy, my friend. You be good out there. Thank you. There you go. David Furones, Welt Rheaume. They do it all. This law office is second to none. Some great human beings. Jeff and Dan are just absolutely golden human beings. Okay. Not only are they exceptional lawyers, because I saw them crush the crap out of Progressive for us, because Progressive was not willing to really actually do what they're supposed to do, because that's what all these insurance companies, they're great at collecting your premium. But then when something happens to you, it's impossible to pull money out of them. And the adjusters they send aren't necessarily working for you. They're working for the insurance companies. Welt Rheaume has their own adjusters, so they can put the insurance companies in their place. So if you're dealing with bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, please call Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume. They know how to get it done. They got beautiful offices in Hollywood. They service all of South Florida. Anywhere in Florida, you can call them, man. And if you think you have a case but you don't know, the consultation's free. Call them, 954-966-4646. That's 954-966-4646 for Welt Rheaume.
This is the Big O Show.